Hey, True Believers, England Teen here with another episode of Comic Book Origins. Now, this seems to be the most popular category when I say go on over to Ko-Fi, you could commission a video. It really is. And this time around, I was a little bit nervous because I had never read The Boys. However, that was what was chosen, so I've got to live up to it. First, I was like, I can't do this on my channel. I even told the person who commissioned it, Chrononaut, there, that I can't do this. It's violent, it's too sexual, it's whatever. That's kind of wimpy. I've got to do it. I promised I would do it. It's got to be on the YouTube channel. I'm going to do my best to talk about this book and go through the first issue the best I can while not losing my channel, okay? Which, is, as you can tell by this image right here, it's going to be tough. So here's the thing. I'm going to ask everybody, get a backbone on this one, okay? I know everybody's offended over every little thing, but for this one, get a freaking backbone. All right, if you're one of those, oh my gosh, I got it written. No, shut up, get a backbone, all right? Let's follow this one through because this has got an interesting little publication history here. Turns out that this was first published by Wildstorm, which was an imprint at DC at the time, and DC was like, whoa, yeah, this is not exactly pro-superhero here, so they got to get rid of it. And according to Garth Ennis, he said, well, they were really good about giving him the rights back so he could take it to other places because they were interested in the story too. Now, of course, we've got this Amazon TV show coming up based on it, which I'll tell you what, my mind was freaking blown. I stopped in and grabbed me a burger at Hardee's, and they have the Boys Cups and all sorts of stuff. I'm like, you guys are promoting the Boys? Have you read this book? Nobody knows what it is at Hardee's, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like the first image of the comic book is a Captain America-like person getting their head crushed very, very violently, the one we saw earlier. So, wow, this is going to be interesting. Let's get to it. Oh, and DC was also not very interested in putting out the collection, so I found a Dynamite edition, but there you go. Talking about the cover, I like it. It's kind of iconic. I've seen, of course, this kind of thing over and over. Losers did this sort of thing as well. So it's not original, but it's not bad at the same time. Okay, full disclosure. Garth Ennis is a hit-and-miss person with me. Sometimes, and he did this with Preacher. As a matter of fact, he's quoted to saying that with the boys, he's going to out-preach a Preacher, which was meant to be taken that there's going to be more violence, sexuality, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes Garth Ennis comes off to me like he's trying way too hard to be edgy. All right, so here we go. We got the splash page, the title page, Captain America-like guys getting his head crushed by a boot, the name of the game. Obviously, this is meant to get us in here. This is going to be something is going to be like no other comic book, except for it is like other comic books. We've seen this kind of thing before. Garth Ennis, like I said, sometimes just tries real hard, but there you go. Let's get this out of the way. This is the kind of comic book we're getting, and go. Okay, so we meet a guy named the Butcher with a name like the Butcher. Obviously not a good guy. He even sees some superheroes flying above, says, I'm going to have you, calls them a very not nice word. Worse in America than it is in England. I'm not going to read this off. There may be a lot of dialogue I'm not going to be talking about here, guys. So let's see if we can get through this. First appearance of the Boys, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's see what we learned from the Butcher on the next page. He says, come on, Terror. And Terror's actually reacting. Question mark, exclamation. He says, off we go, mate. Okay, he's from England. That's fine. He's walking away. People are looking at him. So obviously this is a guy who commands attention just by being in a room. Next up, we meet Wee Hughie, who really looks like Simon Pegg. It's like, oh, wow, I hope he plays him in the movie. Let me draw him just like this. And he's talking to his girlfriend about an alien conspiracy, saying that their aliens are pink, because people think they're gray or green, right? But they're not. They're really pink because it turns out aliens are gay. I mean, I was looking at this website thinking, jings, what if they get us onto their UFO and fruit us up? I mean, I'm not homophobic or anything, right? But, and she stops and says, I love you, Hughie. You must be the only man in Scotland to actually say Jings. And of course, he doesn't let the fact that she said, I love you, go by, and very happy about the fact. So, you know, they talk about it, they kiss, and he does one of those things where he just kind of lets her arms go so he could look at her, when, of course, a bad thing happens. And we see a really big man being thrown into a wall. She's disappeared, obviously in the path of this particular destruction. He's left in shock, holding her arms that were ripped off, while a speedster's going by saying, get the out of the way. And this is the kind of thing I always like to see addressed, because superheroes tend to do a lot of collateral damage, and that means normal people have to live with that kind of thing. So I'm very interested in seeing where this goes. Okay, and now here's another page that doesn't say a lot, but I do like what it does say. So it's obviously at CIA. Miss Rayner, Mr. Butcher to see you. Butcher? That's right, ma'am. Big English guy, talks like Michael Caine. Yep. He hasn't got an appointment or anything, but he just walked in. He has full agency clearance. Check, you know, it all checks out, blah, blah, blah. She says send him in and hold the calls. And while she's looking at him and you get an over-the-shoulder point of view, you actually see that she does have a husband and kids. Now, she looks angry, but of course. Okay, so, yeah, I'm not losing my channel for anyone, guys. But anyway, we see the assistant and the dog. Maybe both of them are pets to their owners. Just kind of awkwardly hearing what's going on inside. See, I don't need all of the edginess. And it's not necessary. Now, showing this, of course, I kind of like, just because it shows the violence is real. I've seen a lot of stuff over the time. I remember one of the worst things I saw was Extinction Agenda. And at one point, they get, Jubilee even, from the X-Men, gets stabbed in the shoulder and keeps moving. Oh, it's okay. And Storm's like, oh, I got a couple of broken ribs, no problem. There's real consequence. This woman got crushed because of a superhero fight, and that's the kind of thing I've been interested in recently. You know, they should never be infallible. They should never be above the law, that kind of thing. So this is amazing to me. So anyway, we do see what happened to the girlfriend, and then we cut to Hughie. He's still holding their arms. The EMTs, everybody's trying to get him to let go. And one of them's even trying to block his view of what happened to the girl. It's really heavy. This is some serious stuff. This is what's impressing me about the book so far. Okay, Garth Ennis is not being too subtle with this dialogue. So the super speedster's talking to a couple of cops. Scanned them heading south at about Mach 3. I had to complete a pursuit curve while I was sprinting flat out across the Atlantic. Walk on water, man. They never see it coming. And the cops are nonplussed. They just want the American dude out of Scotland. Anyway, he says, where exactly am I? Just a matter of fact. You're in Glasgow. America's that way. And the other cops just tell him to get out of here. And I guess his name's A-Train. We're about to find out. But he says, well, better get this chump out. And that's when Hughie starts screaming again. And he asks the guy, You have people to handle this, right? It's cool. I got to get going. And he just runs off, ignoring it, saying can't stop the A-Train. Now, I really don't think Garth Ennis is being subtle talking about walking on water. The whole fact about how the superhero sees himself as some sort of god or savior. And that is very astute, but like I said, very obvious at the same time. And then we begin to get into the meat and potatoes of the story. Not this page. All this page is like, oh, you're a bad guy. Yeah, well, you gave it up for me pretty easily. Oh, you're still a bad guy. And he talks about the guy in the picture, and she's like, don't talk to him. He's a better man than you'll ever be. And then he says, well, have you gotten any prime directives or something like that? And she's like, how do you know about that? And then they begin to really talk about what this book is going to be about. So he does up his pants, sits down, and begins to talk to her about everything. And yes, you are going to get the TBS on the airplane version of this. And he says, you should have called me as soon as you heard. I know why you didn't, but you should have. Made any progress on your own as a matter of interest? Big success so far? She says, go on. Is it Central Intelligence Agency? Half the time you guys couldn't sort out a piss up in a brewery. There's now something like 200,000 soups in the world, and I'm willing to bet you've got no further than names on and headshots on 95%. But I know them. Heroes or villains, saints or sinners, teenage or golden age, I know them. Or, I know a man who does. You know a man who does? The legend won't talk to anyone but me, Madam Director, so leave it out. And she just decides, okay, hell with it, and gives him the file. She's a little hesitant, so the butcher says, you may as well go ahead, love. Superpower's the most dangerous power on Earth. There's more and more of them all the time, and sooner or later, they're going to wise up. If you can dodge a bullet or outrun Tachyon or swim across the sun, you've better things to do with your life than save the world for the 200th time. One day you might twig what you're really invulnerable to is your own humanity, and then, God help us all. And she says, you made this deal with my predecessor the first time around, back before it all went to crap. You have the expertise, we have the resources and legitimacy that allows you to operate that much. I understand. What truly disturbs me, because I've caught a glimpse of what's behind those eyes, is why do you do this in the first place? Is what might be in it for you. And he says, I'm just a bloke in need of a job. And she's like, right. And so he starts to convince her, well, look, you need someone to watch them. They're getting out of control. You need somebody to do the dirty work if it comes down to it. You need someone to kill them. And she just slams the file on the desk to shut him up and asks where's the rest of the team. And he begins to tell him that, in all honesty, it sounds like they're not in any kind of great shape. But I guess we'll find out as far as all that's concerned. This is an interesting couple of pages here. We cut back to wee Hughie, and he's sitting in his room, and you've got a couple of suits there, obviously some sort of lawyers, and you get an idea of who Hughie is by the posters on the wall, the fact that he's got bongs on the table and paraphernalia out, that he's not exactly afraid to display what he does, and all the discussion that's surrounding him is exactly the kind of stuff you hear whenever you lose a loved one or you're involved in any kind of altercation where the cops want to come to you or somebody wants to come to you and try to convince you not to pursue what you have a right to pursue. Just so Garth Ennis reminds you that it's Garth Ennis writing this, we see a guy who is pleasuring himself to something on a TV screen. When he gets a message that the butcher's there, he decides that he's going to just jump out the window, when we find out that it's not really any kind of porn or anything he's watching that he's pleasuring himself to. But yeah, once again, this is just Garth Ennis saying, ooh, look, I'm edgy. And basically, this page boils down to, you've always been my bitch. You got files I need to look at. I'm going to look at them. Why did you try to run? If you don't let me look at them, I'm going to hurt you. And this seems to be their relationship from forever and ever and ever until today. And we come to find out that the files aren't on superheroes. The files are actually on the victims, like wee Hughie's girlfriend. As a matter of fact, wee Hughie comes up in this, and he is very curious about the fact that he didn't ask for money, because usually the first thing people ask for is the compensation, and wee Hughie just signed it away, and this kind of piques the butcher's interest. And we cut back to wee Hughie, and he's just sitting in the park, and he is obviously not happy. I mean, you're not going to be the woman you just claimed to love, and she loved you, is dead. And he's like, it's not fair. It can't be. It was all going right for me for once. And he just says, world, can you just stop turning? Cut to the butcher sitting right next to him on a park bench, very much like he was when we opened the story, next to wee Hughie, all sad, looking like he wants to give up on life. And the words continued in the next issue of Butcher. Well, actually, it says continued in the trade paperback, but it'll be the next issue. So there you go, guys. The first appearance of the boys. I gotta tell you, thank you very much, Chrononaut. Wow, you're the one that commissioned this. I certainly appreciate that. Dude, this was a story. This has a lot of the issues I really do like to see explored. Like I said during reading there, is that we do see it in every issue. It seems to be less and less about, as Marvel would put it, superheroes in the real world than just superheroes in the world of superheroes. They seem to forget that there's real people to be saved. They're going on missions and they go to places that doesn't really seem to have anybody that gets in trouble. It's just superhero versus superhero, supervillain versus superhero. If you're in the DC universe, not in the Marvel universe, because it's always superhero versus superhero. Not always, I know. But anyway, it's nice to see there's a world there that they're inhabiting, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the show now as well. That was really good. I'm going to continue this. Thank you very much. Wow, dude. Anyway, what do you think? Did you read The Boys beforehand? Is this the first time you're encountering them as well? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you do like the video, please consider sharing, comment on it, just to get some sort of interaction there. That'll help the algorithm out, and we're all a slave to the YouTube algorithm. Now, YouTube is censoring a lot of channels, so if you don't mind helping out, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi, drop $1 in the till, and helps keep making videos for you. Or you could go to Ko-Fi, pick your category, and commission a video. It's a lot of fun for me because, once again, it takes me out of my comfort zone. You guys have your own ideas about what you want to see, and it's fun just to be put in the position of maybe reading something new or something I didn't think about. Or sometimes it just bumps up a video that I plan to do, but hey, I guess I better do it now. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.